and welcome back to Mathematics with Usman. I am back today with another video on the syllabus of GCSE as well as IGCSE. And today we are going to talk about direct and inverse variations. As always, first of all, let's dig deep into the basic objectives that we have to attain in this particular tutorial. So students, number one, we have to find out how to express direct and inverse variations in algebraic terms. And they may include linear, square, square root and cubic variations. And number two, students, you have to learn formation of expressions to find unknown quantities in the given direct or inverse variations. Let us first introduce ourselves with the definition, the basic definition of direct and inverse variation through an example. In direct variation, students, if one quantity is increased, the second quantity corresponding to it also increases. Such kind of variation is called the direct variation. How we are going to write it mathematically? Y is directly proportional to x. Students, remember, this sign here is called the directly proportional sign. And whenever you replace it with an inequality, you have to introduce the sign of a constant, that is k over here. For example, students, consider the price of your one pen compared to the price of 10 such pens. If number of pen increases, their price will also increase. Such variation is the direct variation. However, in inverse variation, students, when one quantity is increased, the second quantity corresponding to it will start decreasing, and such kind of variation is called indirect variation. Mathematically, we will write it y is inversely proportional to 1 over x. We will use again the sign of proportionality. If we replace this sign with equality, we have to introduce the constant k. So y is equal to k over x. Consider the number of people required to finish the work. If 10 people took 12 days, students, obviously if we increase the number of students, the number of days will automatically decrease. Such kind of variation is called the inverse variation. Let's dig deep into these problems to understand direct and inverse variations better. Let's straight away dig deep into the problems. So let's consider question number 1. If y varies directly as square of x, given that y is equal to 1 by 5 when x equals to 1 by 2, find y when x equals to 10. Students, see, there is a direct variation between x and y, but y varies directly with not x, in fact with the square of the x. So we will write y is directly proportional to x squared mathematically. Now if we replace this sign of proportionality with an equality, we have to introduce the sign of a constant, that will be k. So y will be equals to k times x squared. Now students, if you go back to the question, you are given with the value of y and the value of x over here. Simply substitute the value of y in place of y and x in place of x, and you will get only one known k, so you can find the value of k by using these values. If we replace y with 1 by 5 and x with 1 by 2 with the square on it, k becomes 1 over 5 equals to k 1 over 4. If you further solve it, you will see that k by 4 will be equals to 1 by 5, and finally we will have the value of k, which is equals to 4 divided by 5. Now the equation that is connecting x square and y will become y is equals to 4 by 5 x square. Now what was the demand of the question? The question was demanding when x equals to 10, what will be the value of y? So what we are going to do here, we will replace this x with 10. The equation becomes y is equals to 4 by 5 10 square. 10 square is 100. So 4 over 5 times 100 will give us a new value of y, which was equals to 4 times 20. Hence, the final solution y is equals to 80 is the answer. Students, there are two basic steps. Number one, find the value of k by substituting the given values of x and y, and then find the unknown value of y with the corresponding value of x, which is given, is equals to 10. Let us consider one more example. In question number 2, students, if q varies directly with p and q is equals to 28 when p is equals to 8, express q in terms of p. So students, q and p varies directly. So this times there is a direct variation which is linear between q and p. Mathematically we can write it, q is directly proportional to p, replace q with equality and you will get q is equals to k times p. Now we are given with the value of q equals to 28 with the value of p equals to 4. If we replace them with 28 and 4, we will get the value of k which is equals to 7. Hence the equation that is connecting x and y, which is this one, if we replace k with 7, this equation will give us q is equals to 7 times of p. Now we can find the second requirement of the question. What it is? Find q when p is equals to 5. So students, you will simply replace this p with 5. So q is equals to 7 times 5. We will get q equals to 35. In part 3 of the question, students, you are given with the value of q which is 42. Find the value of p. Again we will utilize this equation, and what it says, q is equals to 7 times p. So here we will replace q with the number equals to 42. So 7p will be equals to 42. If we divide both sides with 7, we will get p is equals to 6. And that is the requirement of this question number 2, part 3. Now let us move into another example, and this time a little complex one. The amount of voltage V volts needed for a fixed amount of current through a wire is directly proportional to its resistance R ohms. When R equals to 6 and V is equals to 9 in part 1 of the question, what you have to do? Find equation connecting V and R. Students, according to the question, the voltage V here is directly proportional to its resistance R. So we can utilize these symbols and write them mathematically, which will become V is directly proportional to R. Now replace the sign of proportionality with the sign of inequality by introducing the constant. So V becomes equals to K times R. Now students, you are given with the value of R and V. So you can replace them to find the value of K. If we replace V with 9 and R with 6, K becomes 9 over 6, or you can further reduce it. V is equals to 3 by 2 R is the equation that is connecting V and R. In second part of the question, however, students, you have to find the value of V when R is equals to 15. If we remove R and write 15 in its place, Q becomes 3 by 2 of 15s, which is equals to 45 by 2. In part 3 of the questions, find R when V is equals to 42. Again, we will utilize the same equation and we will replace this time V with 42. So 3 by 2 R is equals to 42. Now, if we perform the basic algebraic manipulation, we will get the value of R that will be equals to 28. Now, students, come the fourth part of the question. That is a bit tricky one. Draw the graph of V against R. So students, you have to take the y-axis, the x-axis in a Cartesian plane, but you replace the y-axis with V and your x-axis with R like this. V is volts and R is in ohms. Now, if we consider the values of V and R, if I replace R with 0, I will get V equals to 0. So my graph will start from 0. However, students, you can see that the relation between V and R is 3 by 2. Means if R is 1, V becomes 1.5. So it means that the graph will be like this. So the V against R will be a straight line, which is passing through the origin. And remember students, whenever two quantities are directly related to one another, they must pass through the origin. Now let us move towards the indirect variation through an example. In question number 4 students, if x is inversely proportional to y and x equals to 40 when y is equals to 5, find number 1, equation that is connecting x and y. Students, if we convert this sentence into an algebraic form, we will simply write x is inversely proportional to y, or we can simply write x is equals to k times y, k over y. Now you are given with the value of x, you are given with the value of y, and if we replace them with 40 and 5 respectively, we will get the value of k that is equals to 200. Now in equation 1, if we replace k with 200, this is the equation. X equals to 200 divided by y is the equation that is connecting x and y and is the required result of ours. In part 2 students, you have to find the value of x when y is equals to 25. So if we replace y with 25, we will get the value of x that is equals to 8. In part 3 of the question students, you have to find the value of y when x is equals to 400. Now if we replace x with 400, 200 of 400 which is equals to 1 divided by 2. Last but not least, in part 4 students, you have to draw the graph of x against y. So we will take x on the vertical axis and y on the horizontal axis, just opposite to the Cartesian plane. So here we are having x on the vertical axis and y on the horizontal axis. And students, you can see that both the quantities are inversely related. So as the y will increase, x will keeps on decreasing. So this is the graph for x against y for the inverse variation that we are given in question number 4. And students, this brings us to the end of today's tutorial. As always, thank you very much for watching Mathematics with Usman. See you in another tutorial. Till then, it's goodbye.